This is Company Saturdays. Every Saturday we present you with another company. Today we're looking at 15 things you didn't know about Jack Daniel's. Welcome to alux.com, the place where future billionaires come to get inspired. Hello Aluxers, and welcome to another exciting original video presented by our team here at alux.com. Today we're revealing some interesting and surprising facts about Jack Daniel's, the top-selling whiskey in the world. Jack Daniel's is a whiskey originating in Tennessee. It's the #1 selling whiskey in the world. It's been around for over 140 years and is produced by the Jack Daniel's Distillery in Lynchburg, Tennessee. It was started in 1875 by Jack Daniel when he was about 25 years old. Although it could technically be called a straight bourbon, Jack Daniel's rejects that classification, preferring to reserve its heritage as a Tennessee whiskey. Even still, under the North American Free Trade Agreement, it is officially classified as a straight bourbon. The brand now offers a few varieties of whiskey, including their classic Black Label, as well as Tennessee Fire, Gentleman Jack, and Tennessee Honey. With all that said, it's time to take a closer look at this thriving company with the 15 things you didn't know about Jack Daniel's. If you're new here, welcome. Be sure to subscribe and follow us on Instagram at Alux. Number 1. Jack Daniel's founder ran away from home before he started his own distillery. Jack Daniel's father had over a dozen children with multiple women. When he died, Jack, who didn't get along with his stepmother, ran away and was taken in by a preacher in Tennessee. The preacher was a moonshiner, and Daniel learned the trade from his master distiller, a slave. It wasn't until 1875, when Daniel received an inheritance from his father, that he started his own distillery. Number 2. Jack Daniel prided himself on making quality whiskey at a fair price. Jack Daniel wanted to make sure he offered a quality product that was affordable. Like many other distillers, Daniel used charcoal filtering in his distillery, but he wanted to stand out, so he decided to only use water from an iron-free cave spring on his property. No other distillery had access to this water. Daniel also changed the charcoal filter in his factory often to keep the taste clean and unique. His charcoal filter also had 10 feet of sugar maple, which gave his whiskey a unique flavor. His whiskey was so good, it relied solely on word-of-mouth advertising for many years. Number 3. Jack Daniel's is produced in a dry county in Tennessee. Ironically, the whiskey is made in Moore County, Tennessee, which is a dry county. So, even though the product is made in Lynchburg, Tennessee, where the distillery is located in Moore County, the product cannot be sold in that county. No stores or restaurants in Moore County are allowed to sell Jack Daniel's whiskey or any other type of alcohol. Number 4. Jack Daniel's won the gold medal for the finest whiskey at the 1904 St. Louis World Fair. Jack Daniel's was suffering and just trying to survive during the temperance movement in the U.S. in the late 1800s. Thankfully, it won the gold medal for whiskey at the 1904 World's Fair, which gave it the popularity it needed to go on to become the #1 selling whiskey in the world. The founder of the whiskey company, Jack Daniel himself, died a few years later. He handed the company down to 2 of his nephews, who continued on his legacy of making Tennessee whiskey. Number 5. The Jack Daniel's Sinatra Century Whiskey sells for $500 a bottle. Jack Daniel's always prided himself on selling a smooth whiskey for a reasonable price. You wouldn't find bottles of Jack Daniel's selling for thousands of dollars. However, the most expensive bottle of Jack sold is the Sinatra Century Whiskey, released in October of 2015 for about $500 per bottle. This limited edition was meant to celebrate what would have been the 100th birthday of the legendary Frank Sinatra. Number 6. Jack Daniel's had to shut down production during Prohibition and again during World War II. Jack Daniel's had to completely cease operation for both Prohibition in the 1920s and then again for 5 years during World War II. All companies had to stop manufacturing alcohol during Prohibition. However, even after the federal government repealed Prohibition in 1933, Tennessee did not lift its ban until 1938. And just when Jack Daniel began producing its whiskey again in 1938, the government banned production of whiskey again from 1942 to 1946. Number 7. Jack Daniel learned his trade from a slave named Nearest Green. It wasn't until a few years ago that Jack Daniel's admitted that its founder learned the craft of whiskey making from a slave named Nearest Green. The company never mentioned this in their company history until they were pressured to do so a few years ago. A relative of Green did research and was able to trace the records back to show that Nearest Green did in fact teach Jack Daniel how to make whiskey. Number 8. Jack Daniel's was a big supporter of the Alaskan Iditarod race until it was contacted by PETA. Jack Daniel's was a heavy sponsor of the Iditarod Trail Sled Dog Race until it withdrew its sponsorship in June 2018. The company claims it had nothing to do with pressure from PETA regarding the treatment of the dogs after several dogs died in 2017 due to illness. However, many people believe they actually did cave into pressure from PETA. But one thing's for sure, the race will have a hard time without the funding provided by the whiskey company. Number 9. Frank Sinatra was buried with a bottle of Jack Daniel's whiskey. When Frank Sinatra died in 1998, he was buried with a few strange things: a pack of cigarettes, $1's worth of dimes, a Zippo lighter, and a bottle of Jack Daniel's. Sinatra was often seen with a bottle of Jack Daniel's both on stage and off stage. He referred to the Tennessee whiskey as the nectar of the gods. So it really isn't that surprising the singer wanted to be buried with his favorite bottle. Number 10. Jack Daniel's sold over 16 million cases of whiskey in 2017, with a net profit of $121 million. Jack Daniel's is still the #1 selling whiskey in the world. For 2017, they sold over 16 million cases and had a net revenue of over $121 million. They managed to do this with just 500 employees. These numbers represent the total cases sold by Jack Daniel's, which includes all labels manufactured under their parent corporation, Brown-Forman. We all appreciate the affordable quality of Jack Daniel's, but if you're looking for something much more high-end, click in the top right corner to check out our video, The Top 10 Most Expensive Alcoholic Drinks. Number 11. In the last 20 years, Jack Daniel's has lowered its alcohol content. Historically, Jack Daniel's whiskey had a proof of about 90. Starting in the 1980s and continuing through to 2002, the company lowered the proof to 80. This made it cheaper and easier to manufacture the whiskey. It also lowered the excise taxes assessed on the product. Although some said that Jack Daniel's customers would be upset about this, the company found this was not the case. Many of their customers actually preferred the lower alcohol content, and sales actually went up after the change was made. Number 12. In the summer of 2018, Jack Daniel's released a new line of whiskey. Seeing that a lot of whiskey companies were taking advantage of duty-free shopping, in 2018, Jack Daniel's decided to release their own bottle-in-bond range whiskey. It's very cheap and is only available in travel size. It's limited to sale in duty-free shops across the world and cannot be purchased at traditional brick-and-mortar liquor stores. Jack Daniel's released the new range of whiskey when they saw how many other companies were running with the concept. Number 13. In June 2011, Jack Daniel's set 6 separate Guinness World Records. In New York City in June of 2011, Jack Daniel's decided to celebrate the birthday of its founder by attempting to set 6 separate world records. They managed to secure the world record for the world's largest mosaic made with liquor bottles. They made a portrait of Jack Daniel out of their iconic bottles. They also set records for the largest bottle of whiskey ever and the fastest build of a 20-shot glass pyramid. Number 14. Jack Daniel was not the founder's real name. Although the founder went by the name Jack Daniel, this was not his real name. His actual legal name was Jasper Newton Daniel. He was named for two Revolutionary War heroes, but all of his friends called him Jack. But as we mentioned, Jack left home as a teenager and didn't have much parental supervision, so there really weren't many people who could have argued with him about changing his name. Number 15. Jack Daniel's is the #1 selling whiskey in the United States. When its founder decided it wanted to make a quality product for a fair price, it set the tone for its 143-year future. Now, not only is it the best-selling whiskey in the world, but Jack Daniel's is the #1 sold spirit in general for the United States. You see the famous bottle in movies, music videos, and on television. It's the whiskey that all others are measured against across the world. And there you have it, Aluxers, some interesting, lesser-known facts about Jack Daniel's. Now that you've learned some more about Jack Daniel's, we'd love to know. What would you like to have buried with you when you pass away? Would you go for a bottle of Jack like Sinatra? Let us know in the comments. And as always, for sticking with us all the way to the end and being a true Aluxer, here's your bonus. Number 16. Jack Daniel was only 5'4". Although the man himself was only 5 feet 4 inches tall, or according to some, only 5'2", the man's stature had nothing to do with his success. Despite being a very short man, even in those times, Daniel went on to create the most successful whiskey brand of all time. You can see a life-size statue of him in Lynchburg, Tennessee, in front of the spring where he used to draw water for his whiskey. Thank you for spending some time with us, Aluxer. Make sure to subscribe so you never miss a video. If you want more, we handpicked these videos you might enjoy, or head over to alux.com for the best in fine living content on the planet. Be a part of the largest community of luxury enthusiasts in the world and tell your story.